Hello, and welcome to this training video covering the medical self-certification process. Some positions at Topeka Metro require employees to obtain and maintain a commercial driver's license, also known as a CDL. Primarily, this includes maintenance techs, operators, and operations supervisors. Having a CDL and keeping it in good standing requires many things, including safe driving, clean drug and alcohol tests, and completing the medical self-certification process. The purpose of this video is to provide information and guidance on how Topeka Metro employees that are required to maintain a CDL can navigate the required self-certification process in a way that makes the best sense for their individual circumstances. Since 2014, federal regulations require all CDL holders and applicants to certify how they intend to operate a commercial motor vehicle, or CMV. For example, will they be operating across state lines? Are they driving for a local governmental agency? This process of declaring the type of driving they plan to do is known as self-certification. Completing the self-certification process must be done anytime a driver is first obtaining their CDL permit or license, or when they renew, transfer, or upgrade their CDL. Providing this information also helps the state determine which medical requirements apply to the driver. CDL drivers have 4 categories to choose from when completing their self-certification. In-depth descriptions of these categories are available in the CDL manual and online, but we'll cover the basics here. The 4 categories are 1. Non-accepted interstate, 2. Accepted interstate, 3. Non-accepted intrastate, and 4. Accepted intrastate. Let's take a closer look at some of the terminology involved in these categories. Let's first look at interstate and intrastate. This language relates to where you plan to drive your commercial motor vehicle with your CDL. Interstate commerce is when you drive a commercial motor vehicle from one state to another state or another foreign country like Canada or Mexico, between 2 places within a state, but during part of the trip the commercial motor vehicle crosses into another state or foreign country, between 2 places within a state, but the cargo or passengers are part of a trip that began or will end in another state or foreign country. Think something similar to like a Greyhound or other multi-state coach bus service. Intrastate is when you operate your commercial motor vehicle within the same state and you do not meet any of the descriptions above for interstate commerce. An important note to remember: if you operate a CMV in both intrastate commerce and interstate commerce, you must choose an interstate certification category. The next terms to review are non-accepted and accepted. This language relates to what driving activities you plan to do with your CDL. Non-accepted drivers are either self-employed or operate on a private basis, such as driving for a private trucking or private transportation company. These drivers are non-accepted or non-excused from providing a valid copy of the medical examiner's certificate, also referred to as a DOT medical card or med card, to the Department of Revenue. Accepted drivers operate CMVs in a number of different activities, including but not limited to transporting school children, as federal, state, or city government employees, including public transit employees, fire truck or rescue vehicle drivers during emergencies, seasonal transportation of bees, and certain harvesting and agricultural activities. For a full list of accepted driving scenarios, please refer to the most current edition of the Kansas CDL Driver's Manual. Accepted drivers do not have to provide a DOT medical card to the Department of Revenue. Now that you have a better understanding of the terminology, let's look again at the 4 certification categories CDL drivers must choose from. 1. Non-accepted interstate. 2. Accepted interstate. 3. Non-accepted intrastate. And 4. Accepted intrastate. In determining which category is best for you, the first question to ask yourself is, will I be driving a commercial motor vehicle across state lines, or one that begins or ends its journey in another state? If the answer is yes, then you should choose one of the interstate categories. If the answer is no, this means all of your CMV driving will be within the state of Kansas in vehicles that remain in Kansas for the entirety of your duty. For this type of activity, you'll select one of the intrastate categories. Next, you'll determine your exception status. If you are driving as a self-employed CMV driver or as an employee of a private company, you must select a non-accepted category. Non-accepted interstate Category 1 would be the appropriate choice if you are self-employed or driving across state lines for a private transportation company, or if the vehicle or cargo you're driving starts and/or ends in a different state. Most over-the-road truckers select this category. Non-accepted intrastate Category 3 is the appropriate choice for CDL drivers that are self-employed or drive for a company that's private, but all of their routes and cargo remain in the same state. For example, an over-the-road trucker who delivers goods on a short-haul route between Wichita and Topeka would fit within this category. If your driving activities fall into one of the descriptions previously listed for accepted, for example, transporting children or driving for a local government, then you can choose from one of the accepted categories. Accepted interstate, Category 2, is for those qualifying drivers whose exempted activities may take them across state lines, such as the transportation of bees, custom harvesting services, and school bus drivers who may need to drive into neighboring states for field trips. Accepted intrastate Category 4 is for CDL drivers whose exempted driving activities are confined to within the same state. This category is a good choice for anyone who drives for a local governmental agency or school district and is not required to cross state lines as part of their duties. Now that we've reviewed the 4 different options, you need to decide which category best suits your commercial motor vehicle driving activities. There are many factors a Topeka Metro CDL employee may wish to consider when choosing a self-certification category. This is a simplified list of suggestions and may not fit every driver's exact circumstances. Category 1, Non-Accepted Interstate. Topeka Metro employees with a CDL may choose this category if they'd like to keep their options open to moonlight or do extra work for a private company that requires transporting goods or people across state lines. Choosing this category does require the license holder to have a medical examiner's card, DOT medical card, on their person while driving, and they must submit up-to-date medical card information to the Department of Revenue in order to keep their CDL certified and valid. We'll discuss this more in depth later. Category 2, Accepted Interstate. Topeka Metro employees with a CDL may choose this category if their driving activities qualify as accepted, but they still may need to drive a CMV across state lines. For example, a maintenance technician might choose this category if certain repairs require a bus to be driven to a warranty vendor across the Kansas-Missouri border. Additionally, operations employees driving a bus to another state for conference or display purposes would fall under Category 2. Choosing this category does not require the license holder to submit DOT medical card information to the Department of Revenue. Category 3, Non-Accepted Intrastate. Topeka Metro employees with a CDL may choose this category if they'd like to keep their options open to moonlight or do extra work for a private company that transports goods or people solely within the state of Kansas. Choosing this category does not require the license holder to submit DOT medical card information to the Department of Revenue. However, they must have and maintain a valid DOT medical certification card and keep it on them while driving. And finally, Category 4, Accepted Intrastate. This is a base level category for most Topeka Metro employees with a CDL. Since we are considered a local governmental agency and all of our driving is performed within the state of Kansas, the Accepted Intrastate category, Category 4, is a good fit for those employees who drive CMVs at Topeka Metro but have no interest in moonlighting or doing extra work for private transportation or hauling companies. Choosing this category does not require the license holder to submit DOT medical card information to the Department of Revenue. Drivers must self-certify when getting their commercial learner's permit or when obtaining or renewing their CDL. As part of the registration process at the CDL office, you will be asked how you want to certify, and there will be a simple form to sign and submit. If you're not sure what your current self-certification category is, you can check it anytime online at the Department of Revenue's Kansas Driver's License Status Check website. To change your self-certification category, you have two options. First, you can change your category in person at the DMV anytime, even if your license isn't yet up for renewal. A simple form will need to be completed, signed, and submitted. Or, if you want to change to a Category 1 or Category 2 status, you can do so online at the Department of Revenue's Kansas Commercial Driver's License Holder Medical Self-Certification webpage. There is no fee or money required to change your category. Now note that there are several flowcharts available in the CDL manual and online to help you determine which self-certification category is best for the type of work you plan to provide as a CDL driver. Check these out if you need more information to determine your appropriate category. As previously mentioned, drivers who self-certify as Category 1 take on an additional responsibility when they choose this classification. All CDL drivers who certify as Category 1 must, by law, provide the Department of Revenue with up-to-date medical card information in order to keep their CDL certified and valid. What does this mean? Each time a Category 1 CDL holder receives a new DOT medical card, they must provide the Department of Revenue with a copy of the new card. The new copy can be submitted in person at the DMV for instant confirmation or via email or fax, which can take up to 48 hours to update in the statewide database. It is the responsibility of each Category 1 CDL holder, not their employer, to submit updated medical card information to the state. Topeka Metro will not automatically submit the information when you provide a copy of the medical card to Human Resources. You can ask for assistance from a supervisor or Human Resources to submit your updated information, but this should be done well in advance of the deadline. Failure to provide the updated medical card information to the Department of Revenue will result in the downgrade of your CDL to a non-certified status, which means you cannot legally operate a commercial motor vehicle until the updated information is submitted and processed. Again, anyone who's self-certified in Categories 2, 3, or 4 are not required to submit their updated DOT medical card information to the Department of Revenue. If you're self-certified as Category 1, non-accepted interstate, and the expiration date for your medical card on file with the Department of Revenue expires without new information being submitted, the state immediately downgrades your CDL license to non-certified. This means the commercial aspects of your license are not valid, but you can still drive Class C personal vehicles. The state will mail a letter to the address on file with the DMV informing you of the downgrade. If you do not submit updated DOT medical card information within 60 days, all CDL privileges are revoked. If 12 months pass after the downgrade and no updated medical card information is provided, or if you don't change your self-certification to another category, then you will be required to retest before a CDL license will be reissued. Keep in mind that if your license is downgraded to non-certified, your CDL status on file with the state will also be downgraded to invalid. You will not be able to drive Topeka Metro CMVs with an invalid CDL, as it would be illegal to do so. This invalid status can result in being off work without pay. Many positions at Topeka Metro require a valid commercial driver's license as a condition of employment. Only when Human Resources can confirm that the updated medical card information was submitted and processed by the Department of Revenue and your CDL status is reset to valid will you be released to drive again for Topeka Metro. If you are getting or renewing your CDL at the DMV or CDL office, pay close attention to the questions they ask you. Ideally, they will plainly ask you, what self-certification category do you want? Or, what's your self-certification category? But sometimes they only ask, do you have a DOT medical card? Be cautious if you hear this question. What they are really asking is, Do you have a DOT medical card that I can copy and use to register you as a Category 1 self-certification? All CDL employees at Topeka Metro will have a DOT medical card, but you do not have to provide it to the DMV if you are self-certifying as Categories 2, 3, or 4. So if you are at the DMV and are asked, do you have a DOT medical card? Stop and think. If you want to self-certify as Category 1, non-accepted interstate, then you can reply yes and provide the requested document. If you want to self-certify as Category 3, non-accepted intrastate, then you can also reply yes, but clarify you want to certify as Category 3. You don't need to provide a copy of your DOT medical card for Category 3. If you want to self-certify as Categories 2 or 4, then answer no and reply that you want to self-certify as that category. You are not required to provide your DOT medical card for Categories 2 and 4. Do your homework beforehand and review the different categories in your likely work activities. Don't rely on the employees at the DMV or CDL office to make the best decision for you. As part of this training, you've been asked to use the Kansas Driver's License Status Check website to look up and confirm your current CDL status and medical self-certification category. Keep in mind that you can change your certification category at any time, but if it is listed as 1 non-accepted interstate, then you are responsible providing the updated medical card information to the Department of Revenue anytime you renew your DOT medical card. It is not the employer's responsibility to update that information. Again, if you like, you can ask for assistance from a supervisor or HR to fax or email in the updated information, but Topeka Metro will not automatically submit the information to the Department of Revenue every time you bring in a new DOT medical card. Depending on the method of submission used, it can take up to 48 hours for the Department of Revenue to update their system. Because of this, be sure to submit your updated medical card information well in advance of the current expiration date. Don't wait until the last minute and jeopardize your ability to work. And remember, all drivers self-certified as Category 1 must carry their updated DOT medical card on their person anytime they are driving a CMV. Any CDL employee at Topeka Metro may be required to show their CDL at the request of the agency. For example, operators must show dispatch their license when signing in for duty or when a supervisor requests to see it as part of an onboard inspection. Additionally, all employees at Topeka Metro, regardless of whether they are required to have a CDL, must have on their person a valid driver's license while operating Topeka Metro vehicles. Hopefully, this training has helped you better understand the medical self-certification process required of CDL holders, as well as the responsibilities and consequences of choosing certain categories. It's important that employees maintain their licensure and make sure that information on their CDL is accurate and up to date, both with Topeka Metro as well as the Department of Revenue, if applicable. If you have any questions that were not answered in this presentation, please check in with your supervisor or human resources for more information. Thank you.